Hello and welcome back to Suzerain. Speech of the President on the reforms. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Swordsland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for the support of the Assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greetings to people on my way towards the Parliamentary Hall. When I entered the hall, the Assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument about a proposal made by an MP from NFP. I took my seat inside the special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat at the center of the hall as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than the one before. Order! Order! I saw Kesaro Kibner standing up from his seat and shouting towards the members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibner, calm yourself. Show respect for the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes. Oh, dude, do like the Turkish parliament. Start fighting. Everyone get into a brawl. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everybody took back to their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibner, next time I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall, so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue. We have the President here with us today. He has asked to give an important announcement. The assembly fell silent. You have the floor, Mr. President. The music is intense. I walked to the stand as a loud clapping started in the USB side. Honorable members of the Assembly, I am here today to raise important questions regarding our outdated constitution. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed by the executive and the designated judiciary branches in Swordsland. The Grand National Assembly must be able to exercise its job properly and without obstruction. However, our current constitution fails to guarantee this. I call everyone to stand by us to make historic changes to our constitution and bring it to the standards of today's world. Applauses came from USP and PFJP seats. We will break this. We will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. This is important. This is popular. This is the safe, the moderate option, and this is the... I think this is the non-option. I don't think peace is going to help us at all. Focusing on peace is essentially like, I don't know, like I need to think every time I get into these, because these are just 3 words, but a lot of people put a lot of like meaning behind each of these 3 words. With unity, I think of President-elect's speeches following the election, where he's talking about, you know, Republicans. I'm talking about in the U.S., of course. Republicans, Democrats coming together, right? I think of that, which is like the moderate, safe way of doing things. Change is a big thing to demand, and that is the thing that people will want, the people. But the people aren't the people I need to convince right now. Peace? I don't know. Maybe I should have done the Supreme Court thing. Maybe the NFP will have been behind me, I don't know. Let's do change. We must not be afraid of change. The world is changing, and Swordsland needs to change it as earned after years of solacism in the last decades. We will rewrite the old, make a constitution that will reflect the will of the people, and open the way for a democratic Swordsland. Let's embrace the future. Loud noises from the USP and NFP seats. I took a breath and continued. It is time to make a new constitution together. Be a part of a new era for Swordland. Join us and vote for our proposal. Let's write the future together. Finish with a poem. I don't know what these are going to be, so there's a victory growing with every morning. There's a destiny above destiny. I like this one because it seems like we're reaching for something higher, right? We're trying to reach for something higher. There's a victory growing with every morning. Sounds like I mean, yeah, there's a victory growing with every morning. Sounds like there's an inevitability to it, which I guess is also a good thing, because that's going to, I guess, make people realize, maybe, or help people realize that we are moving towards this no matter what. This is going to happen. It's going to be either us to do it or tomorrow's people to do it. But I also like the ambition and forethought in there's a destiny above destiny, and the encouragement. Instead of encouraging people by saying if you don't do this, someone else will do it. Encourage people by saying, you will be the one to do this. There's a destiny above destiny. Okay, we actually get to do more. I like this, but it also seems very radical, and I don't know if everyone will like it. There is my country beyond everything, my beloved. There's a spring that blossoms out of the graves of our fallen. Fear not when the dark falls, there is an artist painting the sun. Beyond the next morning, there is a victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. The whole United Swordland Party stood up and started applauding. Thank you for the speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs asked to speak. Prince Richter was among them. Yes, Mr. Richter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank Mr. President for his speech. We, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stands in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I'd like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the USP for their more open attitude compared to past years. As long as Mr. President's words prove not to just be words, we will be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share his final contents of these proposals as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Suddenly, Kesara Kibner started yelling from his seat. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and PFJP are nothing but puppets to Western interests. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermining the integrity of Swordland. Order, Mr. Kibner. How many times do I have to say you are speaking out of... I demand to speak. Very well, Mr. Kibner, go ahead. Mr. President, the nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way you are trying to implement them. The National Front Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that the NFP's concerns are not included in the so-called democratic reforms. Thus, Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. So, Mr. Kibner, with all due respect, you are an idiot. Because if you argue against... Like, if you are diametrically opposed to democratic values, and the party mainly followed an ethnic nationalist political agenda with aggressive and threatening campaigns throughout the 30s. If you are an ethnic nationalist, you are diametrically opposed to democratic values, which include the voices of everybody. You are a minority party. We are the majority. Democracy has spoken. You fools. We'll stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. Thank you. Kesara went back to his seat, but the chaos in the assembly continued. Ask to speak. Mr. Kibbener. Do I draw the battle lines? I want to draw the battle lines. This is so. My problem here is that okay, so centrism doesn't work. Is my this is a belief that I have. Centrism doesn't work. You have to actually distance yourself from other parties. You have to sort of show yourself. You have to create your identity. I've talked about this in past episodes. This is why I was going, trying to be more radical than the PFJP. If I just sit in the middle, who's going to vote for me? Turns out, what I've been doing has worked. People are happy with me. Every time I thought I was doing something disastrous, people decided to vote for me and join in my new constitutional reforms. And while I thought it was way too radical, it actually I faced pushback, but I didn't face that much pushback as much as I thought I would. Like, the actual stuff that was voted down was, the one big symbol case with Sol himself, or Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin, and the actual, stupid one that I reactionarily added just because I hate the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So every time I said I'm going to stick to my guns, it's going to be stupid, it's going to be bad, it's been good. I'm afraid at some point that wind is going to turn. But I'm going to do it again. It is you who shouldn't use the word democratic when you want a more centralized government. He watched as he slouched in his seat, legs crossed. Do not stand against change. Be a part of it, Mr. Kibner. We can do so much more together. We will bring change, regardless of your support. Your times have passed, Mr. Kibner. Your times have passed, Mr. Kibner. Mr. Richter. Rest assured, your concerns will be addressed. I welcome your positive attitude. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. There we go. I got up from my seat and started to walk towards the exit. MPs kept shouting and responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. Order, order! This topic has finished. We are moving on to our next topic. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corridor of the Grand National Assembly. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Oh, next turn. Rain, our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. Criticized the power of the Supreme Court as well as the very office he's holding. This statement was met with surprise and was welcomed by Franz Richter of the PFJP. Nice. Walker warns Valksland and Navy over Helgoland dispute. That's bad. Battleship Van Gilben had intercepted a Valksandian destroyer, Stanison, and warned them to move out of Agnolian waters. The Valksandian captain did not respond to the communication, but both ships backed away from the scene after several hours of standstill. Seeing this event as Valksand putting pressure over the island, Arcasian President Dwight Walker warned the Valksandian Navy, saying, "Will not tolerate any attempts to trigger an incident on international waters. Call upon Mr. Hagel to pull back your ships immediately." Form status. In total, 142 signatures behind the proposal. The work is underway to increase the support and to reach out to the necessary members to reach 150. I mean, we're close. We're very close. We only need 8. Right, let's continue. Wealth of Nations. Let's see. Van Houten wins elections. General elections held in Agnolia this week had resulted in the victory of the nearest Democratic Union of Agnolia, for the second time with its leader Martin Van Houten. Right, I didn't know that they were going to have an election right before I made that trade deal, but that's fine. And the alliance, I suppose. Health requires more resources. I already dedicated more resources, didn't I? More financial resources to be able to make more positive service changes inside one term to cover these existential issues like epidemic prevention. Oh boy. They've said that before, and I'm a bit worried. The hidden power of men in uniform. No political leader in Sweden can survive this assault, so I feel like these two are they're trying to hint at something. A political leader in Sweden can survive in office without some support from general staff. President Arthur Vichy was a leader who learned this lesson the hard way in 1927. A power military coup brought an end to his short time as president, and later President Alfonso became the target of alleged conspiracies by the old guard, who were known to be very close to the general staff of the Swedish armed forces. That's why I didn't want to put too much money towards it. Though nowadays, fewer officers assume the role of political leaders. Military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across Eastern Marcopa, according to a report by the Alliance of Nations. Sweden has one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming just behind Velen, where the actions of the generals indicate serious military interference in politics. As reports show, men in uniform still enjoy considerable influence on politics in Sweden, and nothing is being done to reverse the situation, despite the country's history of coups and civil war. Well, privatization plan proposal? No. Ministry of Health has finished the privatization plan proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and to increase quality of service through small-scale market competition. Minister Benioul reported that much more could be achieved through the healthcare system if the private sector could slightly assist by generating new revenue streams and adding new services. I don't like the idea of revenue streams in healthcare. The general staff has gathered today to assess the security conditions of Sweden. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans and the eternal stability of the nation and overall state of the armed forces. The Ministry of Justice has reviewed the Ersson v. Sweden case and put forward its concurrence opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. The Vice Minister of Justice came forward agreeing with the case of Ishaval Ersson and pointed out that a majority court dissent would do disservice to the legal precedent of future constitutional rights cases. Oh my god, I feel like I'm on my last legs for this recording session. The case is now in the hands of the Supreme Court. Let's do this meeting. Arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Holzert. The grey and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling, even after this many years. This is kind of like the Pentagon. At the entrance, I was greeted by Josef and his military entourage of young officers. Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office. We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted me. When we finally arrived at Josef's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. This must be something serious, especially since you invited me here. It is important that you don't get misinformed on this matter. Vulcan has another agenda. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation with Rumburg is getting worse, and our lack of funding in the military means that we would fight for survival in a war scenario. What are our options in improving the situation? We are making all the necessary preparations, but any substantial military support from other nations would be a welcome deterrent against Rumburg. The recent military partnership we have signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defense clause. In case of conflict, we will be obliged to come to each other's aid. In case of Rumburg invasion, they will come for help. You think their support would be enough to hold the line? I don't think so. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further. Lesbia or Volksland are options in my opinion. Oh, dude, if we had Volksland as well. but like, Agnolia and Volkson, they're not going to be friends. Advice noted, I will bring it up with to David. Any deterrence should force him to think twice. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep it or remove it. The facts are that conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a larger front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. My argument would be to remove the conscription if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them. If we're going to have strong allies, why do we need conscripts? A strong knock on the door was heard, and Chief of the Armed Forces Vulcan Kruger walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What's going on here? We are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the President. I see what is going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations and I must be informed of any strategic changes. Oh boy. If I assert myself, that might not be good. I mean, I view this guy as holding more power, Vulcan, even though Joseph is the Minister of Defense. Yeah, this guy's a general. Vulcan has a point. The military needs to be on the same page on any changes. Thank you, Mr. President. We are talking about national defense, which must be consulted among the staff. To clarify, we would have brought the subject up with the general staff and you. The matter is a rather simple one, from my point of view. Our forces have gone large structural changes changing in... What? Our forces have done large structural changes, changing the operational capabilities and tactics. However, at the end of the day, Rumburg has a large army, air force and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weaknesses we have. Throwing bodies at a problem never solved it. Not sure if this is the right approach. Well, we can't have less troops on the front line than the enemy. Not with our current structure focused on mass mobilization. I would ask you to reconsider, or to consider. Okay, so this, I was about to say we need to keep mandatory conscription, but the last one here actually makes me more eager to pick that one. The reason being that, like, we need to have a draft when we get invaded. That much is clear, obviously, but I feel like the actual standing army should be made up of willing soldiers and everyone should serve a term that teaches them the basics, and then we can call on them later on. I feel like that's like the solution, but... Remove mandatory conscription. It is time to have a professional force of willingly enlisted soldiers. Alright, then we can move on. Let me look over my documents, see if there's anything else of concern. That's about it. I won't take any more of your time, sir. Thank you for your time. I also need to think about how that will, how that'll impact the power that the general holds. They'll refuel and repair, yep. There was a women's rights march in Anruka. Alright, well, I think that should make, that should end the episode there. I'm sorry for making it another short one, but lack of reservists. Military has a clear lack of reservists, reducing the recruitment pool during wars. Yep. I do need to stop this episode here because I'm starting to run out of steam, and I would like to record another 3 or 4 episodes tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.